Hello everyone, and thank you for joining our webinar today about Contact Center. Our presenter will be James Emanuele. He is our managing architect, and I will let him take it away. If you have any questions, just go ahead and chat them to me, and I will pass them over to him. Thanks.
Hey, good morning, everybody. We apologize about some of the technical difficulties we had there. So Diana will be flipping the slides for me because of those technical difficulties. But this morning we're going to get into the Avaya Aura Contact Center, and we're going to break it down, right? We're going to break it down into the actual core components of the contact center, what it's made of, and we're also going to talk about multimedia integration, Avaya versus Nortel, and creating that that private cloud, right? Cloud is kind of a hot topic word. And getting into web service development and how to create that customer contact private cloud for your enterprise or your organization. Actually, Diana, can you flip it to if you go to view and then go to full view, then we can have it open full. There we go. So most of you, either through Avaya, maybe through another business partner, have heard something about the Aura Contact Center. Basically, it's Avaya's new contact center product, released about 2 years ago, but really kind of in full swing, full version now. And it's a context-sensitive inbound-outbound voice multimedia solution. So the same voice, email, instant messaging, web chat that existed before. If you were familiar with let's say, Avaya Interaction Center, which was the CTI version of a multimedia contact center mixed blended with voice. We're taking that to the next level. This becomes a web service-based type of environment, drag and drop service creation, same intelligent skills-based routing that existed within the contact center before. One thing I'll point out about that intelligent skills-based routing, those of you familiar with the advocate feature, which takes looking ahead to thresholds of skills and moving agents in and out of skills based on call volume and queue volume. That feature now comes standard with the Avaya Aura Contact Center. And then probably the biggest thing here, context-driven contact center. What does that really mean? It means, and I think we probably all experienced this, you call somebody, maybe you had an interaction with them 2 weeks ago or a day ago, and it seems like they don't have any history on your account. A context-driven contact center would populate all the interaction you've had either with agents via voice, email, web chat, instant message, social media, video conferencing, however you had that interaction, that information would populate to the agent real time, and that would allow you to, the customer has the experience of, wow, they know who I am, they know what I'm calling about, and it just gives a lot better customer experience. And we know from, agent efficiency can help drive customer experience and customer satisfaction. So that's what context-based contact center really means. So I talked about we're going to break down the core components here, and we're going to go through them in the next few slides before we get into that web service creation environment. And what you're looking at here is a slide that talks about the core components to the contact center applications. Really, it's a software-driven platform, and when we're talking about services versus servers, these are really all software services. They are virtual RAN, and you notice that the applications install within 30 minutes. So basically, it's a single DVD with centralized licensing. So if you're on a flattened and consolidated model, this fits into that model. And so if you notice, VMware certified, Microsoft Hyper-V certified, so yes, it can be ran in virtual environments. And we'll go through each one of these software components as we go through the slide deck. This right here gives you an idea of capacities. Keep in mind that this slide deck was from last year. So yes, we're already at 1,000 agents on the Avaya CM side and MVT models, and as well as Nortel. But then if you take a look at the AML installation, so those of you that may have had a legacy Nortel and had installed a AML connector to a a SIP-based contact center. If you notice, for the Avaya Aura Contact Center, that AML is supported, and it goes up to 5,000 agents, and actually it's on its way to 10,000 now. The Avaya side is catching up quickly. This gives you an idea of a high-end overview of the architecture and the interaction between your core telephony and your core contact center. Notice on the Avaya side, this represents a SIP connectivity between Communication Manager and the Aura Contact Center. There's a few different flavors of this. If you are running Communication Manager and let's say you're in a non-SIP environment today, then you would utilize something like a SES. Dan, can you go back one slide? Okay, so if you were using Communication Manager today and you had non-SIP endpoints, you would utilize something like an SES or a Session Manager to accomplish the SIP connectivity between Communication Manager and the Aura Contact Center. I think an important thing to point out here is the blended contact center for email, fax, web chat, instant messaging, text messaging, outbound, preview, and progressive. So all that entire blended environment is out of the box, and we'll get into some of those later on in the slide. But this gives you a high-level overview of what this architecture looks like for a mid-sized template. And those of you that may be on the Nortel side of the house running a CS1000, same type of setup, using SIP as the connector here between the CS1000. Notice CS1000 has to be 5.0 or higher, so if you are on a lower version, step 1 would be get current, step 2 would be the contact center piece. Same blended contact center environment. In fact, those of you that are on the Nortel side, you probably will find some of these acronyms very familiar. The Aura Contact Center was derived from the Next Gen Contact Center on the Nortel side. When Avaya acquired Nortel, this contact center piece became kind of the leading product in Avaya's contact center suite. This is a good topic down here. A lot of people have the Microsoft integration with their contact center or with their UC environment. Notice the OCS system as well down there for Avaya Aura. Next slide. And this gets into the AML version. Today, if you're using AML, maybe you have a Meridian as your core telephony or a lower version CS1000. Obviously we want to try to upgrade your core telephony environment, but if you're utilizing the AML, want to maximize that investment, you can still utilize the AML connectivity to the Aura Contact Center, and if you notice, it has all the same features. You do have a little bit better options in terms of capacity. If you're a very large contact center today, upwards of 5,000 users, the AML version is supported for that. Okay, so this gives you an idea of the roadmap, and like I said, this roadmap was kind of came out 2010. So if you're looking at Aura Contact Center 6.1, I believe that release is looking sometime in the November time frame. You'll be going 5,000 active agents and active and hot standby for zero planned downtime. Yeah, the goal is to have a zero downtime contact center solution here with the Avaya Aura Contact Center. And if you notice all the way, 12 to 24 months, probably leaning more towards 24 months, looking to get up to 10,000 active agents and core and branch survivability. So this product suite is expanding rapidly and growing in capacity pretty frequently. Okay, so that was just a little high level of the architecture and the different components. Now we're going to break down each component separately here. So if you notice, the first component here we're going to talk about is the CCMS, and it's one of the core components. I think the biggest thing about the CCMS is to remember that this is where your skills-based routing takes place. This is where the call scripting happens. So if those of you that are familiar with building vectors and VDNs and then hunt groups as skills for your agents, this is where all of that happens. Notice it does have an onboard reporting and web-based management and administration. So the CCMS Think of it as your routing engine, okay, for your call handling, and also understand that it has its own reporting and web-based management. There's also centralized reporting and web-based management for the entire contact center suite, and we'll get into that as well. Comes standard out of the box. But if for some reason you want it to go directly into the CCMS, it does have that capability as well. Okay, so I would just give you kind of an overview of the CCMS. Again, these are just some of the standard features of the CCMS. Again, to me, the most important thing here is understanding that the CCMS is where your queuing and routing is happening. So knowing where actually your customer is getting connected with your agent. CCMS is responsible for that decision making. All right, we talked a little bit about a flattened and consolidated licensing model. CCMS has the controlled and licensed access to the contact center functionality. So depending on what features and functions you have licensed within your contact center, obviously the license management is happening here through CCMS, which makes it nice. Centralized licensing allows you to flatten and consolidate your environment and control licensing and feature sets from a centralized location. Some of the controlled features here is the networking between contact center nodes. Maybe you have multiple contact center environments and you want to network them together. That capability is controlled through the CCMS licensing. The web-based statistics and web-based real-time data feed. See, that's important. We talked about context-based contact center. Well, the only way to really have a context-based contact center is provide the data real-time to your agent, so that the agent isn't digging through application after application trying to find the information. The information is being brought to the agent real time as the customer is giving them the information. So that's really driving context-based contact center. And then obviously the queuing engines. We talked about the routing and queuing. That's also controlled in the CCMS. Okay, so this just gives you an idea of the skill sets. Those of you that are familiar with the Nortel Contact Center prior to the Avaya acquisition are going to be very familiar with this. Those of us on the Avaya side, it's really kind of the same, skill-based routing that we had before. You can have agents that have multiple skill sets, multiple priorities. Notice an agent can have up to 150 active skill sets, which seems like a lot, but if you have a contact center that's doing voice, email, it's doing web chat, and you have an agent maybe skilled in all 5 simultaneous media interactions with customers, you could possibly fill up those active skill sets, fairly quickly. Obviously, a priority level is 1 through 48, and again, that capacity is pretty good for your larger contact center base that's out there today. Notice that incoming contacts can queue in up to 20 skill sets with 6 levels of priority for that contact. And also that the priority is changed dynamically. That's part of that advocate, and can bring agents in dynamically from other skill sets. So as priorities are changing of calls and thresholds are being met or overflow is happening, advocate is on the hook for changing all of that real time and making sure the customer has the best experience. This is just an example of a call flow. Obviously, you have a Premier Box ticket holder and a one-time ticket buyer. And to an organization that's in sales, especially let's talk about ticket sales, your season ticket holder has a lot more value to you from a revenue standpoint versus a one-time ticket buyer. So you notice, you have a separate queue here as a VIP ticket holder versus a customer service person just handling the one-time ticket buyer. Now, if you also notice that we have, let's just say the queue to VIP is busy, then there's an overflow queue here for the priority caller that would go to customer service priority 2, and notice that your one-time ticket buyer is still priority 3. So in this call flow, your season ticket holder is still going to get priority service versus a one-time ticket buyer. Again, you want to make the best customer experience possible, and especially if you have a revenue-generating call like a season ticket holder, you would want that served as a priority customer versus a one-time ticket buyer. So this gives you an idea of the database lookup and routing decisions. Obviously, we're doing a CRM lookup here, but again, going back to a context-driven contact center, notice the interaction here between the database and the agent is web services, right? And for this example, it's a SQL database, but you could have, you could have an Oracle CRM, you could have a Salesforce CRM today that those APIs exist within the contact center suite. But right now, when you're talking about web services, this is what allows you to get that real-time data feed. This is part of what drives that context-driven contact center. If those of you that have had the more traditional CTI contact center will know what I'm talking about here when you're doing adjunct routing between multiple applications, trying to populate an electronic data unit and get all of that information to the agent. It doesn't necessarily happen real time, and certainly your customer can tell that when the agent's looking for information or doesn't even realize that that customer may have talked to somebody else 2 hours ago. That's what the web services does for your organization within the contact center. Service creation environment, this is very important. Those of you that are familiar with call scripting on the Nortel side, and on the Avaya side we call it call scripting, but it's typically the VDNs, vectors, and skills, and then if you're doing IVR or multimedia, you would have some type of adjunct routing built in and CTI integration. Service creation environment, it's a graphical flow designer. Anybody that's ever used the, on the Avaya side, the visual vectors, has a little bit of feel like that. The Nortel side, this came from the Nortel side, so if you had the Nortel contact center, you're used to the graphical flow designer. It also has package call flows for things like inbound and outbound routing, standard templates for greetings and routing and prompts and collecting digits and things like that. So if you just have a basic call flow, inbound, I want to collect some digits, I want to play an announcement, those are standard templates right out there. You can also customize them as well. So here's a little example of a predefined multimedia flow here. Obviously, that contact is going to come in, and we're going to make decisions on how to write it based on our predefined flow. Okay, so what I was talking about before for creating flows and scripts, this gives you a shot of the service creation environment workflow. Obviously, you have your templates and your out-of-the-box objects here on your toolbar, and you're able to just drag and drop them into your flow editor. And your flow editor tells you, hey, a greeting goes here, a call handling goes here, a skill goes here, a route to goes here. So the template is there for you, and you drag and drop your objects into it, and then obviously you can customize that workflow as you need to. This is one of the new features of the service creation environment. In fact, on the Nortel side, I don't think this existed before. On the Avaya side, this will be brand new. And I find this to be just an excellent feature. For those of us that have been in the contact center space, what's the one thing you seem to never have? The documentation on your call flows. So the documentation creation environment here, part of the SCE, and obviously it can come out PDF, HTML, but what it gives you is real-time documentation of the flow you just created. All right, so this gets into a little bit of the heritage Nortel network here. Like I said before, the contact center suite, the Avaya Aura Contact Center, was really derived from the Nortel side, the next-gen contact center. For those of you that are on the heritage network, it's really kind of the same as the Avaya side right now. Virtual contact center, skills-based routing, centralized distributed nodes, network-level routing. Yeah, the Nortel side does give you some flexibility with networking contact centers, and there's a couple slides that'll show that, so we'll talk about that. That's a little different from the Avaya side, but most of the features are exactly the same between the two suites. So here's an example of the SIP networking overview. And like I said, this is a feature that is on the Nortel side. Notice it applies to the CS1000 deployment only. The networking piece is built on the universal networking architecture of NES 6.0, 7.0, 7.1, And notice also that the Avaya Aura Contact Center, if it's a 6.0 version, the SIP networking supports the voice networking only. Multimedia is not supported. You can have a mixture of SIP and non-SIP enabled CS1000s for networking, right? So if you have multiple CS1000s, some locations are SIP, some are not. That's not a problem. You can do that. And also, one of the greatest features of this is it allows you to choose which environments you want to swing over from an AML to SIP as you grow your environment to the Aura Contact Center. It gives you kind of that building block approach to transitioning your contact centers. All right, so going into the next piece of the core components here, the centralized management and administration. We'll take a look at that piece of the core components. CCMA, it's responsible for the web-based administration, the management and reporting tool for the contact center. So I talked about out-of-the-box reporting, right? Something that in the contact center space has been really demanded for years, and Aura Contact Center really kind of knocks it out of the park with this reporting suite that we'll talk about here in a little bit. Real-time reporting, wall boards and dashboards for agents and supervisors, as well as historical reporting out of the box, and it's all managed from the CCMA. Talking about out-of-the-box administration, centralized administration, and driving efficiency in the contact center. That's what the CCMA is really about. Notice this is kind of a centralized management application. You can pull real-time and historical reports. You can manage your contact center, so managing agents from the CCMA, managing outbound call flows, managing your multimedia, managing your scripting. Everything can be managed from the CCMA within the contact center suite. So those of you that are used to maybe going to Communication Manager, setting up some vectors, going to your AES, going to your voice portal or your IVR, all of it's managed from the CCMA. This just gives you an idea of some of the functional features and applications of the CCMA. Again, I think one of the best things is to drive efficiency within the contact center, and certainly centralized administration does that. So contact center management, managing the agent to supervisor assignments and agent skill sets. So again, centralized administration of your agent environment, and then real-time and historical reporting out of the box. No longer do you have a separate reporting database or a separate reporting system that you have to go access. It's out of the box, and I'll show you some of those reports, and we'll talk about them in some later slides here. And I think you'll see that I think there's like 180 reporting templates right out of the box for most organizations that meets the need, and they're completely customizable. These are some more of the functional features here. Again, I was talking about managing workflows and managing scripting and things like that. Obviously, anytime you can manage everything from a centralized location, you're going to drive efficiency with your contact center, which is going to drive customer satisfaction. And ultimately, if you're a revenue generating contact center, customer satisfaction drives revenue. So CCMA, again, centralized administration of the entire contact center suite. This is just a screenshot of managing your agents and agent skill sets to give you an idea of what the application looks like. Obviously, it's a screenshot, so it's a little blurry, but you can see you definitely have agent login ID, first name, last name, CCT user account, and we'll talk about CCT in a little bit, but think about CCT as a CTI feature of the Aura Contact Center, but it's not traditional CTI, and we'll talk about that. And then obviously there's a whole lot more of agent information like ready, not ready, things like that going on in this application. But this is just a nice screenshot of what that management screen would look like. I talked about dashboards, real-time reporting dashboards. I don't know how many of you use dashboards today, or maybe some of you actually still have that big physical wall board in your contact center. Right out of the box functionality with the Aura Contact Center, real-time dashboard reporting. And so this can be up on your supervisor's desktop while they're working on something else. They're able to see what's going on real time. And keep in mind your agents. have a dashboard as well, so they can see what's going on in their skill set. Maybe they look at their dashboard and say, oh, maybe this isn't the best time to go to the bathroom. There's 5 other people out of the skill set right now. Things like that. It gives you that real-time enhancement to your environment. And a cost savings. Maybe you're using a separate dashboard feature today. Like I said, maybe you're using that big wall board. Having it right out of the box obviously drives a little bit of savings with that. The package historical reporting engine, okay, so I got a little bit overzealous there. It's 121 standard report templates that are available. So like I said, for most organizations, the 121 standard reports meets their need, but also notice customized report sharing and some of the great features are email notification of report completion. So you as a supervisor, maybe at the end of the quarter and at the end of every month, you have a certain package of reports that you run. Maybe you have to provide a report back to you know, the chief operations officer or, you know, the operations management team. As a supervisor, you can schedule those to run overnight during the day. You know, prevents a little bit of overloading on the reporting database. Some of you may experience that now. I know that I've worked with a few organizations that come the end of the month, everybody's trying to run their reports on the same day, and it just freezes up the database. So that's a nice feature. And then also the report creation wizard. So take this template and then customize it. There's a wizard for doing that as well. And this is also another nice reporting, being able to, instead of looking at a skill set, being able to drill down to the actual CSR level of a report, being able to see a contact link directly to an agent and the interaction that happened within that call, I think is good, especially if you're in a contact center where maybe your agents, maybe they have bonuses or something like that that are driven off of a contact type of deliverables. The CSR reporting is definitely very handy for that. And also, again, there's a report creation wizard for this as well. This gives you a look at the report creation wizard. It's a nice screenshot. Again, it's a screenshot, so it comes up a little blurry, but gives you an idea of what this report creation wizard looks like. This is creating customer-specific reports, so drilling down to that customer contact to agent contact CSR level report, and this just gives you an idea of what that looks like. All right, so I mentioned on the management tool there, the CCT, or the Communications Control Toolkit. Those of us in the contact center are pretty much all familiar with CTI, and CCT is really the CTI of Aura Contact Center, and I'll talk about maybe just a couple differences between the two, but we'll get into it here a little bit. CCT, it's a converged middleware and integration toolkit. It's based on Microsoft.NET 3.0, 3.5, and also has an SDK, so if you need to customize your CCT, you can do that as well. So hey, if you're doing screen pops, things like that, digging into databases, popping real-time agent data, CCT does that. Now, I talked a little bit about what's the difference between CCT and CTI. Well, the biggest difference is your adjunct routing to create that CTI integration goes away. All right, so what does that mean? That means a single segment call flow. What does that mean? That means that your reporting is representing the entire customer contact experience versus trying to pull the voice side versus the email side versus the instant messaging side, or maybe there's multiple components to the voice side. So capturing reporting from the IVR to the actual agent customer interaction, all that reporting happens real time. All that data is collected real time, and it's populated to the agent desktop real time, driving that contact center and customer experience. So Avaya likes to call this persistent conference versus CTI, but for familiarity reasons, think of it as your CTI connector. Yeah, so this just gives you an idea of next generation CTI, and CCT is a core component here. Obviously, any type of media interaction you're doing uses a CCT connector. And again, CCT is not a CTI application. CTI is a familiar term, So we use it very loosely, and we say, well, this is the next CTI. But you know, take a look here at CCT is doing the same thing as CTI, but it's a middleware, and like I said, uses web services to create that that single segment workflow for your customer contact and provide real-time data to your agent. Does the same thing as CTI if you take a look. Desktop applications, call control toolbar, server applications. So if you have call recording, workforce management, uses CCT. Screen pop utilities and business applications like CRM connectors. So most of you have that functionality today in traditional CTI. CCT is right out of the box middleware with the Aura Contact Center and really drives that contact center. Excuse me. Just a little bit about the CCT environment. You know, this supports the CS1000 and the Avaya Aura platforms. This is a little bit about security and capacities. You know, I think the biggest thing, all media types are supported using a common API. It's object-oriented .NET call control API, .NET CLR, and all .NET languages. So C++, Visual Basics, you know, etc. The CCT is meant to be an open source connector, right? And this is part of what's going to give you that private cloud for your contact center, that enterprise cloud that's driving customer contact and driving agent efficiency. And right here, SOA web services and REST API, so services-oriented architecture built on web services. That contributes to that cloud environment. And cloud's a hot topic right now. Everybody wants to be in the cloud. But what if you had that cloud as your enterprise customer contact platform? What if the cloud was truly I have an app for that environment? And that's what CCT and SOA will do for you in your contact center. And we talked about the CCMA being the centralized administration. Take a look. CCT is administered from there. And I keep driving to this because contact center, whether it's supervisor efficiency or agent efficiency, the efficiency of your contact center will drive customer satisfaction, which will drive revenue for your organization. And those of us that have done administration within the contact center and had to administer different pieces of the contact center from different servers or different applications, you know how time-consuming that can be. Having it all centralized in one application is a very nice feature. So let's just give you an idea of the type of people in the market today, or type of market that is going after CCT. And it's everybody. If you're a developer, CCT, you have to develop it to the APIs to do CRM integrations. Avaya business partners, you know, we use CCT. Business integrations use CCT, and then of course the end user uses CCT. So you as a contact center manager, contact center developer, you have to use CCT to create those the connectivity between your CRM databases, or maybe you have Salesforce applications, or really maybe you have in-house applications that you built for your contact center. Get them into the cloud. Create that real-time data integration between your agent and your customer, and you'll see that agent efficiency and customer satisfaction will go up. Okay, this is nice too, because if you do have either in-house developers, or maybe you want to play around with it yourself, Avaya Dev Connect, which is great. If you notice here, you have over 1,000 docs, toolkits, and APIs. So maybe you're trying to create a call recording integration between your CCT and your call recording platform. Go out to Dev Connect. There's SDK examples. There's application examples of other people that have done this, and you can also get the CCT graphical and CCT web services for free from that website. Dev Connect is really just a group of other end users like yourself that are trying to do the same things, and you'll find sample development code on there. You'll find application code on there, and it's all certified and tested by Avaya, so you know if you implement it, it's been supported by Avaya. It's very nice. the agent desktop. I think I keep pinging on driving agent efficiency and driving the efficiency of the contact center overall. Part of that is how your agent handles different applications within your contact center. You know, a lot of people do have the unified desktop today, but sometimes it's a little difficult to work with, right? If you're using multiple database integrations or multiple screen pops that are not web services today, you know that the transferring of data between applications and database can be a little, well, kind of like a rubber band ball. It's all tangled up by the time it gets to your agent desktop. So having a unified agent desktop that's backboned by web services, being able to handle voice, email, web chat, instant messaging, outbound, fax, text messaging, and video, all from a single agent desktop, that's going to drive the efficiency, and that's going to be the customer contact that your customers are looking for. You know, going into the future here, voice contact is really slowing down in the contact center. Email, web chat, social media is really picking up for how people want to communicate with you as a business. And being able to handle that, all of that from a single agent desktop is really crucial to the efficiency of your contact center. Has the same look of, if you're familiar with the 1X, the 1X agent desktop has the same look and feel, but there are some differences here. This is just some screen pops of an incoming voice contact and accepting a voice contact and some of the features here. We won't go through all of them, but notice the skill set stats ticker. Remember talking about real-time agent dashboards, being able to show, hey, your skill set is an overflow. Now is not a good time for you to go to the bathroom. I need you to take calls. Being able to see that right on their desktop. Well, you know, maybe some of them will think before they go and put themselves in auxiliary work mode or something. Yeah, so this is nice too. On the Avaya side, if you used 1X agent or even IP agent, you know that there was a out-of-the-box screen pop. That's still supported with the Aura Contact Center. And what's nice is there's actually a screen pop GUI. So this just gives you an example here of the screen pop. You can set this up right within the client. Okay. You also have the ability to do centralized screen pop administration from CCMA and CCT. But if you have different groups doing different screen pops, maybe you want to do it at the client side. This is a nice screen pop of accessing, obviously, an Avaya corporate directory here as a screen pop example. And so this is the type of screen pop your agent could get right out of the box. Pretty nice. And I believe it can call, it can do an HTTP request. So if you have a web app, it can call into your database. Obviously, there's APIs for SQL and Oracle and Salesforce and pretty much any database out there today. And then maybe you have your own custom database or your custom applications. Well, you can build that integration within CCT. This is a more on the screen pop, and this is great too. Screen pop on any contact type. So if you're familiar with IP agent or 1X agent, you're screen popping primarily. I believe it's limited to just voice, inbound voice. With the Aura Contact Center agent here, you can screen pop on an inbound instant message. You can screen pop on an inbound email. Screen pop on an inbound web chat. That functionality is really going to give you context-driven contact center as well. Being able to receive an inbound instant message from a customer, if they have that capability, or an inbound email, and real-time populate the customer interaction from 12 months ago all the way through real-time. That gives your agent the ability to handle that customer very efficient and drive customer satisfaction. I talked about fax integration here. This is really kind of nice. Those of you that have contact centers that take faxes, maybe today you have a single inbound fax mailbox that when a fax comes in, somebody has to either manually route it to whoever is working on that, or the agents themselves have to go and check that fax mailbox, or maybe you have a physical fax machine they have to go check. This is integrated right to the desktop. The fax comes right to the desktop. It routes to the agent just like a skill. and it's actually a fax skill set. You can see right here. It's a fax skill set. It will come right to the agent that's supposed to be handling that fax, or the group of agents in that skill that are supposed to be handling that fax. And so, again, agents are handling everything from one desktop. Really drives efficiency in the contact center. This gives you an idea of what the web chat and callback feature looks like. Maybe you have some e-commerce websites, and a customer clicks to start a chat with you. Your agent answers it. They're going back and forth on web chat. Hey, let me call you back. Or hey, they get disconnected on the web chat. There's a callback feature within the application here, which is really reaching out to them, back out to them through a web chat to reinitialize that conversation. Obviously, you can launch a voice call anytime to the customer right from the web chat. So here's the dynamics of a context-sensitive environment. Notice this is for the CS1000 right now only, but maybe you're engaged in instant messaging with the customer. Instant message comes in for a customer, and dynamically it's linked with groups that could be associated to handle that, or even based on previous customer interaction, the system's able to link them back to the same agent that handled them before. So it's, again, context-based. It's real-time data being fed to the agent to drive the efficiency of the contact center and the customer satisfaction. So this is a good example of more than one contact type within your call center, having the availability to work 5 simultaneous contacts at one time, and that could be, you could be working a voice contact, an email, instant message, all of them at the same time, and really kind of handling multiple customers at a time, which is nice. It keeps the efficiency of the contact center going. The nice thing is you can set priorities here. So maybe in your contact center, a multimedia interaction has more priority to a voice interaction. Maybe from the reporting, you see that interacting with customers via multimedia features like email, instant messaging, and web chat, and things like that have a better success rate for your organization. So you want to interrupt a voice contact with a multimedia contact, you can do that. So if an agent's on a voice call, that doesn't mean they can't receive an inbound email or instant message. They can receive up to 5 simultaneous contacts at one time. So I noticed in the chat room here a question, and I appreciate that. And I've kind of been holding off on it because I knew that this slide was coming here. And the question has to do with, can Aura Contact Center deliver ticker tape of alerts from a supervisor that would come to the front of the desktop regardless of the agent status, like they currently have in Simon? And the answer is yes. So this is an example of the real-time statistics for the agents. So agents can see the statistics of their skill sets that they are in. There's a nice graphical thing here as well. Part of this desktop, or part of this dashboard here for the agents, is the supervisors are able to push messages out to the agents. So I use a common example. Hey, there's going to be a fire alarm test at 1 o'clock. Make sure you put yourself into auxiliary work mode when that fire alarm goes off. That type of stuff. Or hey, jump in skill 102 because it's way in overflow. The supervisor shouldn't have to do that, shouldn't have to move the agents around manually, but there are contact centers that prefer that versus the dynamic routing and handling of agents, and they can do that through the agent desktop and through the agent dashboard. But this gives you a view of what that dashboard would look like. All right, so we've talked about the CCMS, we've talked about the CCMA, we talked about the feature and functionality kind of built within inside those services, and now we're going to talk about the Contact Center Multimedia Manager. The name itself is kind of self-explanatory here. It's the Multimedia Platform, and it's the cache database for the email, web chat, outbound interactions, instant messaging, scanned documents, faxes, and text messaging. keep in mind that this platform has to be tightly integrated with CCMS and CCT using web services. So not only are we saying, hey, use web services to integrate with your third-party databases and all that, we're using web services within our core components to supply real-time data between the platforms here. And that's how the sharing of data happens within the Aura Contact Center between these services that are running, and helps to provide that real-time data to the agent so they can handle your customer more efficiently. And really it comes down to first call resolution. You want to be able to handle the customer the first time, answer their questions or any type of services that they need. And when you're populating that data real time, your success rate for that goes way up. So CCM, the multimedia platform, and it takes advantage of web services and utilizes CCMS and CCT. So again, we're not going to spend a lot of time in here, but it's basically the multimedia components of the contact center. This is the contact center multimedia management service. It manages all of your email, web chat, outbound, and obviously the Avaya Aura Agent desktop, and it's the multimedia portion of it. So your CCMM supplies the multimedia information to the agent desktop real time utilizing web services. Okay, so this is a high level kind of architectural multimedia routing screen pop here. It's a tad confusing, and it doesn't get into that much detail on how this actually happens, but basically you can see the inbound voicemail, faxes, and emails, and keep in mind of the auto acknowledge feature within the multimedia environment too, building out a knowledge base for your agents, and based on keywords from an instant message or from an email, you can generate an immediate auto-acknowledge response. That's always a nice feature. Also, for the agents themselves, hey, maybe it's a question around what's the policy for making an insurance claim, and you and your knowledge base database have a standard answer for that. You've checked it out with legal. You want that to be the standard answer. Your agent can just click on that and populate it into their answer and hit send, and it just goes. So this just kind of gives you an example of all the different multimedia contact types, but some good examples here of auto acknowledge and agent knowledge based database. This screen right here is going to talk about the email handling. I think the best thing about the email handling is it's skill-based and it's priority-based, so you're able to queue emails exactly the same way you would queue voice interactions, right? What does that allow you to do? It allows you to queue them up, allows you to populate them into your contact center based on priority levels. Maybe in some contact center, email is the #1 priority. Maybe in some voice is the #1. Maybe in some it's web chat. So that priority-based dynamic routing is nice, and you can do that with email handling as well. Notice it supports, the top 2 and then 3 email servers that are in the market today, the Microsoft Exchange, Lotus, Domino, and GroupWise. Those of you that may be using like Gmail or Google, that's supported as well through third-party CCT. So don't think if you're not on Exchange or Domino that you're not supported. You are. Like I said, it's a completely open source API for integration. So this gives you an example of an email routing workflow. Here it comes, the to-address support at cc.com. Now look at what you have set up here within your routing decision. So your CCMS, right, it's controlling the routing, and it's looking for keyword group 1, information about info or question. So it's looking for any one of those words. Keyword group 2, finance, lending, financial, loan, or mortgage. And if it has any do not or don't in the email, we're not going to route it. So from the address in group 1, we know that we have these email addresses: billyray@aol.com, Vicky at BT Internet, PR at Yahoo, and at Avaya.com. So if you look at the outputs here, we know that from this to address that support is the keyword. So skill set. support. And then the auto response. Do we have an auto response for support reply or out of office hours reply? So yeah, if you wanted to send an out of office reply here, you could. But keep in mind that you also could have an auto response. Thank you for contacting our support group. We'll be in contact with you, shortly, or we'll be in contact with you over the next 2 days. Whatever your response wants to be, you could kick out an auto response. And then obviously there's some suggestions here, configuring IP phones, and CCMM will make auto suggestions to your agent desktop about different support database type features. So, and then the outputs again, you can close the contact, yes or no, make a priority level on it. So this is all happening dynamically here. We're saying this is dynamic priority level 2. Preferred agent, so there's your agent selection. Boom, now we know what agent we're going to, and the contact type is email. So this gives you an example of how that email may flow. And within your workflow, the ones in red are the mandatory. It's the mandatory information that the contact center suite needs to route that email correctly. The stuff in blue is optional. So we talked a little bit about Fax and Link. Those of you that do voicemail for your agents today, or maybe common voicemail boxes, nice feature, CCMM. It can retrieve those messages, it can store them, and then also, guess what? It delivers it to the agent desktop for your agent to handle, and it can actually queue them as well. So if you had a skill set for fax or skill set for voicemail, being able to queue those so they're populated within your work stream based on priorities and things like that, you can do that too. And then that same feature functionality of presenting it to the agent desktop, being able to queue multimedia contacts, just like a voice contact, being able to have skills for that. You can do that with scanned documents and text messages as well. This is a nice out-of-the-box feature, the Outbound Contact Center. So today, those of you that may be using dialers or separate, let's just say separate outbound applications, you can bring that in-house. You can bring that into your Aura Contact Center. It's out of the box, so it's not a separate platform, and also has the ability. You can build outbound campaigns, and it's a software-based dialer, as well as can be managed from the CCMA. So preview and progressive outbound dialing capability right out of the box. The ability to build outbound campaigns and manage that from CCMA is something really nice that comes out of the box here with the Aura Contact Center. Web Communications Manager. This is within CCMM as well, and this is where you're gonna manage web chat interaction, being able to do real-time communication, especially if you have e-commerce websites. Sometimes this can assist in actually selling a product. I mean, customers can be on there. They've got a question about something on your website. They don't know which one to select. Your agent's able to engage them real-time, direct them to the right product, and then they go and buy it. So if you're not using web chat for e-commerce type website interaction, I would definitely recommend it. And customer support is great for web chat too. Being able to go to your support website, generate a communication with a support agent, and get my answer real time right away versus calling in, sitting in queue, taking 15 minutes to answer my call. You're transferring me around. You're digging in different applications. The efficiency of that is just not there. Real-time data to the agent desktop, real-time communication back to your customer is really how you drive customer satisfaction. This just gives you an example of what the web contacts and web chat will look like here to your agent. Again, we're popping this out of the agent desktop, so all within the unified agent desktop for efficiency. And you can see here, if you look at the chat pop-up, the customer may be on your website, and it looks at this and says, would you like to text chat with our agent, yes or no? If customer clicks yes, we pop up the chat window. Your agent can engage with them and answer their question right away. Or maybe the customer wants you to call them, right? Customer can say, hey, all of our agents are busy right now. Would you like our agent to call you? And we can go ahead and initiate either a callback via the Outbound campaign that we have built, or this just populates into the agent desktop as a queue and as a queued web chat. And when the agent gets it delivered to their desktop, they go ahead and they send an email and they send a phone call out to the customer to answer their questions. So that's what the web chat looks like. Okay, so we reviewed the core components there and the core features. Hopefully we'll have enough time here to answer some questions, but I do want to spend some time and talk about the open interfaces and the services-oriented architecture and the web services. And the reason I want to do that is these components of the Aura Contact Center are really the differentiator in the marketplace and are really what's driving that agent efficiency and that customer satisfaction. Again, it's pretty popular today to say I'm in the cloud or I have an app for that, right? We hear from Apple, we hear from Microsoft all the time, and that's good. In fact, we probably use it at a personal level today. You have you have an iPhone, you have an Android, you have some of the newer BlackBerries are using it too, and that's all driven off of web services. That's populating your demand real time to you via an application. And what Avaya has done is said, hey, that's great that we're doing it at a personal level. Well, why aren't we doing that at an enterprise level? Why aren't we developing a private cloud? Why aren't we putting the cloud into the enterprise? And that's what a services-oriented architecture will do for you. So the Aura Contact Center utilizes web services to generate the services-oriented architecture. Again, I've been talking about Microsoft, Apple, and you can see the little the Oracle penguin down there, and we integrate to all of that using web services, using CCT, right? And that's what it creates for you, that I have an app for that environment. So this gives you an idea of just some of the features and benefits. I think I've kind of hit on them quite a bit here. Most of you are familiar with it from your personal life, using like your iPhones or your Droids, and now being able to take that to your enterprise and create that for your contact center. I mean, I don't think there's any question. Anytime you can populate real-time data for multiple databases, multiple tools for your agent, real-time, it's just going to, the satisfaction for your customer is just going to go way up. And that's what web services does for you, and that's what developing your private cloud built on web services does. Notice, again, CCT. Very important here. CCT is that open source integration with your contact center, and uses web services to do so. All right, so again, this is all, we talked about the SCE, the service creation environment. Your web services are workflow designers through SCE as well. Notice your CRM or your ERP, customer web services, whatever you're doing with web services, it's all accessed within the workflow, and it captures the data and influences the routing decision. Well, that's weird that would influence the routing decision when the routing happens on the CCMS. But if you remember, we talked about CCT integration with CCMS utilizing web services. Again, not only are we saying use web services, create this private cloud within your third-party applications, the platform itself is built on top of it. That's what it is. It is a private cloud for your contact center and for your enterprise. Services-oriented architecture integrated in with your CCMA. So we talked about CCMA being the management tool for your organization. Well, I talk about this being a private cloud solution. This is built on a services-oriented architecture using web services, and CCMA is no different. CCMA uses web services to add agents, query skill sets, and change skill sets assignments, and it happens real time. So as we're able to build out routing decisions within CCMS and able to do assignments within CCMA, well, that data collected throughout that workflow utilizing web services is all populating it into CCMS and CCMA, so that the routing decisions and the agent queries and the agent decisions can be made correctly. Right, so again, services-oriented architecture, the platform's built on it, and here we go with CCMM, and if you remember, CCMM is the multimedia management component of the software suite, and it's where you're going to build outbound campaign management and outbound preview and progressive dialing. And so you're able to add context to an existing campaign and close contacts already created as a campaign. I think the biggest thing here is the open interface for integrating to third-party applications with outbound campaigns. Maybe you have an application you've built in-house for third-party screen pops. Maybe you integrate to a third-party outbound organization. Being able to have an open source interface to integrate that type of data real-time, again, it's just going to drive the efficiency of your outbound campaign up, which is going to drive customer satisfaction up as well. Right, and this is a big piece too. When you're built on an SOA or a services-oriented architecture utilizing web services, you're able to queue third-party contact types, right? So maybe you're doing voice today. You've invested in an email platform or a web chat platform, but it's two separate agent desktops. The voice comes in separate from the web chat, and you want to integrate them somehow. The Avaya Aura Contact Center allows you to do that using web services and SOA. It's called open queuing, and I can queue my third-party web chat on the same desktop with my agent voice desktop. So again, even if you're utilizing third-party tools today, you're still able to drive that efficiency by unifying the agent desktop through Aura Contact Center, which is going to drive customer satisfaction. The reporting services, again, the CCMS, we talked about this. The reporting database is all built through SOA. Being able to provide historical and real-time reporting right out of the box is a key market differentiator and a key part of Aura Contact Center. Reporting is extremely important for all contact centers, and like I said, it's built on SOA and web services. All right, the media application server. We're going to talk about where these applications live and how they integrate together. So the MAS is the multimedia application server. You guys are probably familiar with it if you're on the Avaya side. Some other platforms within Avaya use a MAS, like the modular messaging voicemail platform. If you're on the Nortel side, you should be very familiar with the MAS because it's been around for a long time on the Nortel side. And really, it's just that. It's enabling conferencing. It's enabling voicemail within the contact center. If you take a look here, it's the application platform for the contact center. Supports a lot of different protocols. Probably the biggest one is the voice XML and the CC XML, right? So voice XML, pretty standard XML for IVR type functionality. So if you have an IVR today, supported right out of the box by the MAS. And then CC and XML, obviously very important for call control. So maybe you're integrated to a Microsoft UC platform, and your agents have that for like presence or something like that. Being able to pass call control may be important to you. And again, conferencing and voicemail for the agent is all supported through the media application server. So I was talking about conferencing and voicemail. Here's an example of announcements, right? So today, those of you that may be playing announcements from a call script or from a vector, obviously now that's part of the media application server here, as well as music on hold or local directory type lookouts. And then some canned media here comes right out of the box, like ringback and busy tones. If you're familiar with setting up vectors today, right, you do wait 2 seconds, hearing ringback while you're transferring the call. The same thing's happening here, but again, it's being built with web services. So instead of transferring the call, the ringback tone is being brought to the customer on that single segment call flow utilizing the CCT. So we'll talk a little bit about the reliability and the redundancy here. I'm going to try to go through some of this. We may skip a couple slides. I'd like to open it up for questions here soon in a few minutes. So we'll spend a little bit of time talking about redundancy. All right. So right now, here's just a summary of what we have for redundancy and resiliency. So right now within the Aura Contact Center 6.0, you can have a hot standby for CCMS voice and a hot standby for CCT. That'll give you, I'll go back one more, Dana. Okay, so that'll give you the functionality to obviously have standby for your voice contacts. You know, a lot of contact centers today don't have multimedia as a primary contact today, or it is a primary but voice is the backup. So this model kind of supports that. Notice the agent desktop pop-ups restart with no touch recovery. So you pop your hot standbys in and the pop-ups get going right away for the agent desktop. The agent state is maintained for voice on the CCMS and CCT. So today, if you have a failover situation, if your agents have to log in and log back out, and then after they restart, that's going to happen automatically. No need for that. The agent state is stored within CCMS and CCT. And then you have an on-campus multimedia auto failover and multimedia adoption of a high availability config tool. So as we have hot standbys for voice and CCT, your multimedia server will be active and could have auto failover initiated through a high availability configuration. This gives you an example of the Avaya NES campus high availability failover, and this is recommended for the Avaya Aura Contact Center 6.0 or the CS1000 high availability plus the Avaya Aura Contact Center 6.0, and also you could have the Call Pilot high availability here. But basically, if you notice, it takes advantage of real-time database shadowing. When you have that private cloud, right, you're able to do data replication real-time utilizing web services, and that's how you're able to create this shadowed environment of your primary contact center and then your failover, your high availability contact center solution. So here's a good example too. A lot of organizations have multiple locations or multiple campuses. Maybe you have your core that has a primary and secondary failover, high availability, so you have shadowing of your core with your secondary core contact center solution, and then you could possibly have a second location or a third or fourth location contact center. And notice from your original core, you're able to shadow through your survivable media gateways. So if you have multiple locations, you can still achieve the same high availability as a single location. This just gives you an idea of high availability for the CS1000 here, the active-active hot solution for CCMS and CCT. Remember I talked about some of these solutions are hot standbys and some of them are active-active. Well, with CS1000 now, the CCMS and CCT become active-active versus hot standby, and the transition to a new active server during failover is automatic. I think I mentioned it before, the agent and call states are maintained in real time between server pairs. So again, having zero downtime contact center, you're not losing that customer contact. The agent state is preserved, and so you just continue to drive efficiency. This gives you an example of a failover scenario in a CTI environment. Remember, CTI is really CCT. And you can see this flow walk through here, but basically your CCMS and your CCT are active in this scenario, and therefore you transition to your secondary active CCMS and CCT to handle the routing of a CTI screen pop. This is an example of web chat. It's basically the same scenario as your active-active CCMS CCT, but notice there's the voice call and web chat are maintained during the failover, and you're able to do that. Again, I think you saw the shadowing of the database. So in terms of the failover solution, it's already active real time, even though the customer contact may be on your primary solution to start. The secondary solution already knows what's going on in real time because of web services and a services-oriented architecture. That data is shadowed real time. And then on the Avaya side, if you're an Avaya Aura solution today, or you're thinking about going to that, so we looked at the hot campus solution. Now you're talking active passive solution for CCMS and CCT platforms with transition to new active server during failover situations. So it's not active, it's kind of active and hot standby like we talked about before. The transition time to the new active server is 2 to 5 minutes for SIP CCMS and less than 15 seconds for the CCT. If you look at the Avaya Aura Contact Center 6.1, that's when on the Avaya side you're going to really get the full active hot standby. So the same active scenario we just talked about with the Nortel side is coming to the CM or the Avaya side with 6.1 Contact Center and create that zero downtime environment, which, you know, zero downtime in the Contact Center is pretty tough to achieve, and it's kind of amazing that this platform can do that utilizing web services. All right, so we talked about the core components, and this just, you know, again drives in the core of the contact center as a virtualized platform environment. So your hardware-centric environment, maybe you're hardware-driven today, just based on the solution that you have. You know, eliminating hardware, going to virtualized environments, big cost savings there, as well as if you notice some of the integrated applications here, like workforce optimization. CRM databases, call recording, all those applications are virtualized on top of the platform as well, and utilize web services to integrate through your CCT. So you just continue to build virtualized contact center environments, one on top of another, for managed applications. All right, so this is really getting to the end. This is kind of a who am I kind of silly questionnaire here Avaya puts in the deck. Really, you know, if you read through this, you'll know from the presentation that we're talking about the Aura Contact Center overall. Next slide. Oh. Can everybody hear me? Okay, so it looks like I may have lost on the audio side here. This is just a little quiz that Avaya puts at the end here. Really, if you look at the questions, you'll know from the presentation that this is the Aura Contact Center. And now what I want to do is open up for any types of questions. We did run over. We started a little bit late. If there's still attendees and you guys have time for questions, we'd like to open up the chat room here for questions, and I'll do my best to answer them as I can. Okay, so it looks like we have a question that just came in, and it says, I have an AES server now which connects to a different contact center software and call copy recording software. Does the CCT replace that? If I move to this contact center solution, do I still need the AES server? Is it repurposed to CCT? And the answer is yes. CCT would replace your AES. CCT creates that CTI integration between your call copy, call recording software. And then obviously, the Avaya Aura Contact Center would replace your existing call center solution. But keep in mind, if you wanted to do this as a building block approach, or separate business organizations across your organization want to move at different times, CCT still allows for the third-party queuing. So you could take a building block approach to building out your organizations within Aura Contact Center over time versus all at once if that meets your business needs a little better. One thing I would say as well, there's a phenomenal lab offering from Avaya on the Aura Contact Center. It's like for $2,200 you can get an Avaya Aura Contact Center lab, and that'll help you start building out your organization in a lab environment first before moving to production. So I mean, obviously you have services to install that lab, but the product itself for the lab is like $2,200, which I think is a great offering. But yes, the answer is yes. The AES server would go away. It's replaced by CCT, and the Avaya Contact Center would give you the opportunity to utilize the Avaya Contact Center workflow queuing as well as third-party queuing if you wanted to do third-party queuing from your existing contact center solution. The next question in here is the hot swapping licensing included? There's a difference between high availability licensing and regular licensing within the contact center suite. So the hot swapping licensing is included if you buy the high availability licensing. So that would be the answer for that. Any other questions coming in? Okay, here's another one here. Do any of the desktop apps require admin rights to run, and can the apps be pushed via software management or service? The answer is they do not require admin rights to run, and they can be pushed via software management server service. And that's pretty common out there today. A lot of organizations have some type of software pushing package for desktops, whether it's in the contact center or whether it's in just regular office use. And the answer is does not require admin rights, and yes, can be pushed from a software management service.
All right, I think that looks about done. Thank you, James. We'll send out a link to a replay of this webinar, and then we'll also have the slides available. And in that email, I'll put on James's email address in case you have any further questions.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Have a great day.